Welcome to Daily Fortune, where we talk about the latest topic about finance and investment. But before that, please don't forget to click the like button, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so that you'll know when I upload new videos. Now, let's get started. In the ever-changing world today, it's hard to get on any kind of popular website or social media app and not run into at least one or two finance influencers. These guys are always talking about get-rich-quick schemes, but the sad truth is that you'll never get rich by following their advice. And why is that? Well, it's because most of it is BS. It's actually very rare for someone to achieve wealth overnight, let alone keep that wealth for long. One of the main reasons this happens is because of this get-rich-quick mindset that keeps you from actually getting rich. Sure, it's entirely possible for a precious few to actually become millionaires overnight, but in the course of time, most of them don't end up keeping that wealth. In case you didn't know, 7 out of 10 pro NFL athletes who suddenly make millions of dollars end up filing for bankruptcy 2 years after they retire. This is because they're missing one special quality, a quality that's needed to accumulate and retain wealth. Without it, all this will get exceptionally more difficult to accomplish. So let's discuss what it is and how you'll be able to achieve it so that you can start pulling yourself out of that financial gutter. Many of the books, articles, and videos that I've read have revealed a certain phenomenon that most finance influencers don't talk about, one that I'm very much willing to share with you today. Most finance influencers don't really talk about or mention how society has essentially convinced us to think that becoming wealthy is only ever about taking action. That if you take enough action and enough risks by the next crazy stock price jump, then you'll become a millionaire. That's just wrong. Having the right mindset is just as essential as taking action. In a study from Stanford University by the psychologist Carol Susan Dweck, an experiment was conducted with 12,000 ninth graders. These students were either assigned with 1, to complete a 50-minute program that educated them about the growth mindset, or 2, tasked them with completing an unrelated 50-minute course. Once completed, the data was then analyzed, and the results were rather surprising. It was shown that the students that took the growth mindset course had earned significantly higher grades than those who didn't. This indicated that the mindset of a person played an important role in that person's success and development. However, while having the right mindset is important, having just that isn't enough. Keep in mind that taking action is also important. Simply thinking about something or expecting a certain outcome doesn't mean that it'll just automatically happen just like that. Taking the appropriate steps in order to achieve your objectives is just as important. One of the biggest reasons why you'll never get wealthy is that you, like most people, were programmed to feel and be poor from the moment you were born and every day since. This is still possible even if you may not be objectively poor, especially if you live in the United States. Even if you do consider yourself poor in the US, it doesn't really equate to the state of being poor when living in a developing or third world country. But anyway, that's beside the point. The main issue you are dealing with is your way of thinking. So what exactly is hindering us from taking the first step to financial freedom? First, let's talk about the poverty mindset. What exactly is the poverty mindset? There are plenty of definitions you can find, but essentially, this mindset influences the beliefs that money shouldn't be spent, possibilities are limited, taking any kind of risk is dangerous, any form of success is temporary and irreplaceable, and that remaining in the back of the pack is the safest place to be in. This poverty mindset, where your thoughts and feelings are aligned with poverty, makes it harder to attain and, more importantly, maintain wealth. It is an attitude. It is the fear that you will never have enough. It'll convince you that your financial situation will never get better, and as a result, it traps you in this endless cycle of making poor financial decisions. When you think about it, it may not necessarily mean that you don't have money. You can have some money and still have this poverty mindset. The key thing here is how you perceive your financial situation. Let's do a bit of time traveling and go back to the past. Do you remember those times when your parents would say that they couldn't afford something you wanted, or that you can't do something that you want to do because it was too expensive? Often, It's the phrase we can't that our parents, their parents before them, and possibly even you right now default to, because it gives us a reason to not think about the issue or things we want anymore. You said it yourself. There is no alternative to this issue. But this kind of thinking has its consequences. With this kind of mentality, you subconsciously submit to defeat, and there is a big possibility that this mindset came from listening and observing how your parents handled their finances. Additionally, aside from just parental upbringing, we have to consider how the educational systems we have factored into this. Current educational systems are designed and modeled off of factory schools. Like the education done before, the systems we use today still have the similar goal of creating compliant, literate, and timely workers who did exactly what their boss told them to. To better illustrate how similar it is to a factory, children or the basic materials are to be shaped, turned, and fashioned into products that meet the various demands the world needs in order to function properly. For over 200 years, we've been using the exact same school model, with the same goal: create compliant workers who are punctual, docile, and who will follow orders without question. People are taught to live life thinking inside the box, avoiding mistakes, using failures to justify their decision in lying low, joining the rat race, and trying to climb the corporate ladder. While this is the harsh reality we have to deal with, there are definitely ways of getting out. Let's talk about some of the steps that'll make a difference. But before we continue with the video, be sure to leave a like if you're enjoying this video and subscribe if you want to see more videos like this from me. As I mentioned earlier in the video, most of us here likely learned our financial habits from our parents. If they weren't good at managing funds, then the chances of you being well-versed in handling finances aren't that good. School wasn't that helpful either, as there weren't any specific subjects that taught us about the importance of personal finance. We did mention a way out though, and the trick to unlocking it is to simply add a single word. Instead of saying that you can't afford something, ask yourself how you can afford it. This subtle difference in wording helps you start thinking outside the box for different options and solutions to your problem. You don't necessarily have to solve your problem or achieve that goal immediately. The idea is to prime and train yourself to focus on solutions to your problems instead of just shutting yourself down by saying that you can't do it. Society taught us to pick skills that we're good at, master them, and make them one of our key selling points. Our own parents from the very start enforced the idea that we should choose stereotypical occupations that pay really well. If you are good at a subject, make it your greatest asset. For example, being good at science automatically means getting a job in the medical field. Being good at English can land you jobs at top companies, or it can open the path to becoming a lawyer. In short, honing these skills is important so that people and organizations who need them will hire and pay us. As mentioned earlier, from a young age, we're already being shaped into products and tools to fulfill the demands a company has for us. Let's be clear, that's not a bad strategy at all. This is how 90% of people in the world function, and it's what these factory schools want. But while the strategy isn't necessarily wrong, it's also not the best. In fact, that kind of thinking can limit us. When you specialize in a few skills, you can end up limiting your capability in other areas. From here, two things can happen. Your performance is limited by your physical limitations, like needing to sleep and eat, or you reach a limit to how much someone will pay you for your skills. For example, imagine you are a neurosurgeon and you earn around $3,000 an hour. The numbers aren't bad. However, you won't earn more than that in an hour. Why? Because that is the limit to how much the market can pay you. So yes, the payout can be a lot, and sometimes this is enough for many people, but you will reach a limit to your earnings eventually. If you want to get around this limit though, try changing your way of thinking to be more innovative and entrepreneurial. Instead of thinking about what selling points you have that people are willing to pay well for, think about what skills people in the world need right now, and consider your capability of fulfilling that need. It's a bit of a nuanced change in thinking. Instead of thinking where and how much you can sell your skills and your time, you start thinking about how you can easily create something that is of value to more people. The next step is to stop working hard. I know, shocking, right? This just goes against everything we've ever been taught since we were young. However, it's important to remember that high labor productivity doesn't necessarily translate to equally higher wages. To illustrate it better, Let's imagine two workers, A and B. Worker A makes sure to scrub the floors more vigorously, takes more orders than worker B, and even helps out with tasks that aren't delegated to them. Meanwhile, worker B still cleans and takes orders, but doesn't go out of their way to work harder than they should. But at the end of the day, both workers earn the same wage. This is why when you work hard just for the sake of it, you're not accomplishing more in total. You're just doing busy work, and it's taking your time away from you. All it's doing is showing how hardworking and dedicated you are to your employer. You're still part of the machine. You're just busier now. The sad reality is that you can always be replaced by another worker. So instead of trying to just be another cog, work to become the machine and break the mold. When people who have the poverty mindset join the rat race, they try their best not to step out of the box, hoping that one day their luck will turn and their efforts will finally be recognized. But this rarely ever happens, especially in a sea of people who are doing the exact same thing as you. Also, as mentioned earlier, your income isn't related to how hard you work. CEOs who earn multitudes more than their workers don't do multitudes more work than them. Do what you can to make yourself irreplaceable and very valuable to your employer. If you feel like you have an innovative business idea, try taking that risk and make it happen. After all, that's how all big companies start. Our system isn't perfect. It's far from it. We were all born into an unfair world where we all start with different advantages and disadvantages in life, whether it's a geographical location, socioeconomic class, or our physical appearance. And yes, it's worth trying to change the system for the better. But it's also important for you to improve your own personal life. A single person can't change the mindset of an entire generation. Focus on bettering your circumstances using these steps and mindsets, and do your part by passing them on to the next generation so that they can have a better life than you do. Again, let's just be clear here. It's not like we've uncovered some grand secret about the world. This is just how the world works, at least to our knowledge. We're learning new things and trying to make strategies from them that will help all of us have a better chance at life. We're asking you to use these steps to better your mindset and share it with other people so that everyone comes out better in the end. Just don't forget that mindset isn't enough. Action, and by extension ambition, is also needed. Lastly, remember this: good changes in your life start with you. So that's it for today. I hope you learned something from today's video, and to get updated with the next videos, please don't forget to hit the notification bell. See you next time!